The Riverside Bistro in downtown Portland glowed with warm amber light as the evening sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Willamette River. White tablecloths, flickering candles, and the gentle murmur of conversation created exactly the atmosphere I'd dreamed of for my rehearsal dinner. October in Oregon had blessed us with one of those rare, crystal-clear evenings where the air felt crisp but not cold, and the leaves were at peak autumn color, burnt orange, deep crimson, and golden yellow. I stood near the bar, smoothing down my champagne-colored dress, watching my family and friends mingle. My mother, Patricia, was showing my aunt the seating chart for tomorrow's ceremony, her reading glasses perched on her nose as she pointed excitedly at the carefully arranged tables. My father, Robert, was deep in conversation with Marcus's dad, both men nursing glasses of bourbon and laughing about something related to their college football teams. Marcus, my fiancé, my partner of 4 years, the man I was supposed to marry in less than 24 hours, was across the room talking to his groomsmen. He looked incredible in his navy blazer and crisp white shirt, his dark hair perfectly styled. When he caught my eye and smiled, that familiar warmth spread through my chest. Tomorrow, I'd become Olivia Bennett Hayes, Mrs. Marcus Hayes. "You look like you're about to float away," Sarah whispered in my ear, appearing beside me with 2 glasses of champagne. My best friend since freshman year of college, my maid of honor, the person who'd been by my side through every major moment of my adult life. I took the glass she offered, grinning. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to anyone with functioning eyes," she laughed, her blonde hair catching the light as she tossed it over her shoulder. Sarah was striking in her emerald green dress, the one we'd picked out together specifically for tonight. "You've earned this happiness, Liv. After everything you've been through." She was referring to my previous relationship, a disaster that had ended 2 years before I met Marcus. Sarah had been the one who'd helped me pick up the pieces, who'd convinced me to give dating another try, who'd literally dragged me to the networking event where Marcus and I first met. "I still can't believe this is happening," I admitted, taking a sip of champagne. The bubbles tickled my nose. "Tomorrow I'm getting married." "Tomorrow you're marrying the perfect guy," Sarah corrected, but something in her voice made me glance at her sharply. Her smile seemed tight, not reaching her eyes. "Sarah? You okay?" "Of course." She recovered quickly, squeezing my arm. "Just getting emotional. You know me. I cry at commercials. This is going to destroy me tomorrow." Before I could respond, Marcus's mother, Helen, clinked her glass with a fork, calling for everyone's attention. The conversations gradually died down as people turned toward her. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Helen began, her voice warm and slightly emotional. "Thomas and I are absolutely thrilled to welcome Olivia into our family. From the moment Marcus brought her home, we knew she was special." I tried to focus on Helen's speech, but my attention kept drifting to Marcus. He was leaning against the wall near the windows, his phone in his hand, a small frown creasing his forehead as he typed something, probably responding to a work email. Marcus was a project manager at a tech startup, and he had difficulty unplugging even during personal events. The speech continued, filled with anecdotes about Marcus's childhood and sweet observations about our relationship. When Helen finished, she raised her glass. "To Marcus and Olivia! To Marcus and Olivia!" Everyone echoed, and I felt my cheeks warm as 50 pairs of eyes turned to us with affection and joy. Marcus pocketed his phone and crossed the room to me, sliding an arm around my waist and pressing a kiss to my temple. "Love you," he murmured against my hair. "Love you too," I whispered back. My father stood next, clearing his throat. Dad wasn't much for public speaking, but he'd insisted on saying a few words. "Olivia has been the light of our lives since the day she was born," he began, his voice gruff with emotion. "Watching her grow into the incredible woman she is today has been the greatest privilege of my life. Marcus, you're getting the best person I know. Take care of her." "I will, sir," Marcus called out, and everyone laughed at his formality. The speeches continued. Marcus's best man, Derek, told an embarrassing story about their college days that had everyone in stitches. My sister, Emma, who'd flown in from Boston for the wedding, gave a touching speech about how Marcus had restored her faith in good guys. Each toast felt like a blessing, a confirmation that this was right, that tomorrow would be the beginning of something beautiful. As the formal part of the evening concluded and people returned to mingling and eating, Marcus excused himself. "Be right back, babe. Need to hit the restroom." He set his phone down on the high-top table where we'd been standing and headed toward the back of the restaurant. I turned to respond to a question from my cousin when I heard the buzz of a text notification. Marcus's phone, face up on the table, lit up with a preview. Sarah. It was supposed to be me. Time seemed to slow. I stared at those 5 words, my brain struggling to process what I was seeing. Sarah, my best friend, texting my fiancé. It was supposed to be me. What was supposed to be her? My hand moved of its own accord, picking up the phone. I knew Marcus's passcode. He'd never hidden it from me. We trusted each other, or so I'd thought. My fingers trembled as I unlocked the screen and opened the message thread. The texts went back months. My vision blurred as I scrolled upward, reading fragments that made less and less sense, and yet formed a picture that was horrifyingly clear. Marcus, I can't keep doing this. Tomorrow's the rehearsal dinner. Sarah, I know, but I can't just turn off how I feel. Marcus, you're her best friend. This is wrong. Sarah, you think I don't know that? You think I wanted to fall for you? Further back? Sarah, seeing you two together is killing me. Marcus, Sarah, please. We agreed to stop. Sarah, stop what? Pretending we don't have this connection? Even further. Marcus, last night shouldn't have happened. Sarah, but it did. And you can't tell me you didn't feel what I felt. Last night. Last night when? I kept scrolling, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. There. A date from 6 months ago. Around the time I'd been traveling for work to Seattle for 3 weeks. The restaurant around me faded away. The laughter, the clinking glasses, the warm glow of the candles. It all became white noise. I stood frozen, phone in hand, reading evidence of a betrayal so complete that my mind kept rejecting it even as my eyes took in every word. Liv, everything okay? I looked up to find Emma watching me with concern, her wine glass halfway to her lips. My voice came out hoarse. I cleared my throat. Yeah, fine. But I wasn't fine. My entire world was crumbling around me, and I was standing in a room full of people who had no idea that the wedding they'd come to celebrate was built on a lie. I looked across the room and found Sarah. She was talking to my mother, laughing at something, her hand on my mother's arm in that familiar, affectionate way she'd always had with my family. My family who loved her, who'd welcomed her into every holiday, every celebration, every moment of importance in my life. As if sensing my stare, Sarah glanced over. Our eyes met, and I saw it, the flash of guilt, quickly masked by a bright smile. She raised her glass to me in a toast. Something cold and sharp crystallized in my chest, cutting through the shock and pain. I looked down at Marcus's phone, still open to their conversation, and made a decision. With steady fingers, I typed a response to her last message. Marcus. Right on time. I hit send and watched as the message showed, delivered, then read. Across the room, I saw Sarah pull out her phone. Watched as she read my message. Watched as the color drained from her face and her eyes shot up to meet mine. I held her gaze, my expression calm even as my heart shattered into a million pieces. Then I set Marcus's phone back on the table, exactly where he'd left it, picked up my champagne glass, and took a long, steady drink. Let the truth come out. Let it all burn. Tomorrow was supposed to be my wedding day. Now it was going to be the day I took my life back. The next few minutes unfolded in a strange, suspended reality. I stood at that high-top table, champagne glass in hand, watching Sarah's panic play out across her face as she stared at her phone. She typed something frantically, then looked at me again, her expression a mixture of fear and desperate pleading. Marcus's phone buzzed again. Sarah. Liv? Please. We need to talk. It's not what you think. I didn't pick up the phone. Instead, I caught Sarah's eye and gave her the smallest, coldest smile I could manage. Then I turned away, forcing myself to engage in conversation with my Aunt Linda, who was telling me something about the florist and the bouquets for tomorrow. My voice sounded normal when I responded, agreeing that the white roses were a perfect choice. Inside, I felt like I was watching myself from a distance, a puppet going through the motions while the real Olivia screamed. Marcus returned a few minutes later, picking up his phone with a casual smile. "Miss me?" "Always," I said, and was surprised at how steady my voice was. He glanced at his screen, and I watched his face change. The smile froze, then faded. His eyes darted to me, then across the room to where Sarah stood near the bar, her face pale and stricken. "Liv." "Not here," I said quietly. "Smile. We have guests." "Olivia." "I need to explain." I said, "Smile, Marcus." My voice was pleasant, but my eyes were steel. "Unless you want to explain to 50 people why the wedding is off right now, in the middle of my rehearsal dinner, you will smile and act normal until this evening is over." He stared at me, and I saw fear in his eyes. Good. He should be afraid. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay. But Liv, please, it's not what I think," I finished for him. "That's what she said, too." "How original." I walked away before he could respond, weaving through the crowd toward the restrooms. I needed a moment alone, just 60 seconds to breathe without having to perform normalcy. The bathroom was blessedly empty. I gripped the edge of the marble sink, staring at my reflection. The woman looking back at me was still perfectly put together. Hair smooth, makeup flawless, champagne-colored dress, elegant. She didn't look like someone whose life had just imploded. "You're going to get through this," I told my reflection. "You're going to finish this dinner with your head held high, and then you're going to handle this. But not here. Not in front of everyone who loves you." The door opened behind me. I knew who it was before I even turned around. "Liv," Sarah's voice cracked. "Please, let me explain." I turned slowly to face her. My best friend. The person I'd trusted more than anyone except Marcus. She looked wrecked. Mascara smudged, hands shaking, her emerald dress suddenly seeming garish rather than elegant. "How long?" I asked calmly. "It's not, we didn't—" She couldn't seem to form a complete sentence. "How long?" Sarah's face crumpled. 6 months? But Liv, nothing physical happened. I swear, it was just, we talked, we connected. I didn't mean for it to happen. 6 months, I repeated, the words tasting like ash. 6 months of emotional intimacy with my fiancé. 6 months of secret conversations. 6 months of lying to my face every single day. I stepped closer to her. "Tell me, Sarah, when you helped me pick out my wedding dress, were you picturing yourself in it?" "No. God, no. Liv." "When you threw me that bridal shower, when you gave that speech about how Marcus was perfect for me, when you stood next to me and promised to support our marriage, you were in love with him the whole time?" Tears streamed down her face. I tried to stop. I tried to stay away. That's why I was so busy the last few months, why I kept canceling plans. I was trying to give you space, trying to get over it. Get over it? I laughed, a harsh sound that didn't sound like me. "You're talking about my fiancé, Sarah. Not some random guy you had a crush on. The man I'm supposed to marry tomorrow." I know it's unforgivable. But Liv, Marcus, and I never crossed that line. He loves you. He chose you. Did he? The question hung between us. Or did you both just decide I was the safer choice? The one who wouldn't make waves? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Sarah? Explain it to me. Make me understand how my best friend could do this. She wiped at her tears, leaving black streaks across her cheeks. "It started at your birthday party, in April. You remember, you had that conference call with London that you had to take, and Marcus and I ended up talking for like 2 hours. We just clicked. And I know how awful that sounds, but it was like I was seeing him for the first time. Really seeing him. I remembered that night. I'd apologized for having to take the call, and they'd both assured me it was fine, that they'd entertain each other. I'd come back to find them laughing on the patio, and I'd felt happy that my best friend and my fiancé got along so well. What an idiot I'd been. We started texting," Sarah continued, her voice barely above a whisper, "just as friends at first. Funny things, memes, whatever. But then it got deeper. We'd talk about everything. Our fears, our dreams. things we'd never told anyone else. And somewhere along the way, I realized I had feelings for him. And he had feelings for you. She nodded miserably. He said he was confused, that he loved you but couldn't deny what was happening between us. We agreed to stop talking 3 weeks ago. He said he wanted to focus on the wedding, on you, on building a life with you. Tonight was supposed to be me saying goodbye. That text, I was weak. I shouldn't have sent it. No, I agreed, my voice cold. You shouldn't have, but I'm almost glad you did. Better to find out now than after signing legal documents. Liv, please, get out. What? Get out of this bathroom. Get out of my rehearsal dinner. Get out of my life. My voice was shaking now, the calm facade cracking. You are not my maid of honor. You are not my friend. After tonight, you are nothing to me. Liv, don't do this. We can work through this. Work through this? I stared at her in disbelief. You betrayed me in the worst possible way. You and Marcus both. There is no working through this. There is only you leaving before I completely lose it and make a scene that will traumatize my entire family. Sarah reached for my hand, but I jerked away. Don't touch me. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. And yet you did. Repeatedly. For 6 months. Now get out before I start screaming. She stood there for another moment, mascara running, shoulders shaking with sobs. Then she turned and fled. I counted to 30, breathing slowly, willing myself not to break. Not yet. Not here. When I emerged from the bathroom, I immediately spotted Marcus. He was standing by the windows, watching for me, his phone clutched in his hand. Our eyes met across the room, and I saw my father approaching him, smiling, ready to share some story or offer some advice. I intercepted them smoothly. Dad, could I borrow Marcus for just a minute? Wedding coordinator stuff? Of course, sweetheart. Dad clapped Marcus on the shoulder. You're marrying one organized woman, son. She gets that from her mother. I led Marcus out onto the restaurant's small balcony overlooking the river. The October air was cool against my skin, a relief from the warmth inside. The sun had set fully now, and Portland's lights reflected off the dark water below. Liv, I read everything. I cut him off. Every text, every late-night conversation. Every time you told her how confused you were, how you couldn't deny your connection. Marcus's face was ashen. Olivia, I'm so sorry. You have to believe me. Nothing physical ever happened. Is that supposed to make me feel better? I turned to him. That you only emotionally cheated on me with my best friend for 6 months? That you only poured all your intimate thoughts and feelings into someone else while I planned our wedding? It's not an excuse. I know that. But I love you, Liv. I chose you. I'm here, aren't I? I'm marrying you tomorrow. No, I said quietly. You're not. The words landed like a physical blow. Marcus actually stumbled back. What? There's not going to be a wedding tomorrow, Marcus. Liv, please, don't do this. We can work through this. I'll cut off all contact with Sarah. We can do counseling. Whatever you need. What I need, I interrupted, my voice shaking, is a fiancé who doesn't develop feelings for my best friend. What I need is to be able to trust the man I'm about to marry. What I need is to not wonder for the rest of our marriage if you're thinking about her when you're with me. I won't be. I swear to you, how can I believe anything you say? Tears were finally starting to fall, hot against my cold cheeks. For 6 months, you looked me in the eye every day and lied. You held me, kissed me, made love to me, all while maintaining an emotional affair with Sarah. 6 months, Marcus. It's over with her. It's been over for 3 weeks. You ended it 3 weeks ago. Our wedding is tomorrow. I laughed bitterly. Did you really think you could just flip a switch and everything would be fine? That those feelings would just disappear? Marcus grabbed my hands, desperation in his eyes. Liv, I made a mistake. A huge, unforgivable mistake. But I love you. I want to marry you. Please don't throw away 4 years over this. I pulled my hands from his grip. You threw it away. Not me. You and Sarah both. One mistake. For 6 months. That's not one mistake, Marcus. That's a choice. Dozens of choices. Hundreds of small decisions to keep texting her, keep confiding in her, keep developing feelings for her instead of shutting it down and being honest with me. He was crying now too, tears streaming down his face. What do you want me to do? Tell me what to do to fix this. You can't fix this. My voice was surprisingly gentle. Some things, once broken, can't be repaired. Trust is one of them. So that's it? We're just over? I looked at him. This man I'd loved, this man I'd planned a future with. Less than 2 hours ago, I'd been glowing with happiness, certain of our love. Now, that certainty was ashes. Yeah, I whispered. We're over. Marcus sank down onto one of the balcony chairs, his head in his hands. I'm so sorry. God, Liv, I'm so sorry. I stood there for a moment, watching him cry, feeling nothing but emptiness. Then I turned and walked back inside. The party was still in full swing. People were laughing, eating, celebrating a wedding that would never happen. I made my way to my parents, who were chatting with Marcus's parents near the cake table. Mom, Dad, Helen, Thomas, I said quietly. Could I speak with you all for a moment? Privately? Something in my voice made them all stop mid-conversation. My mother's smile faded. Honey, what's wrong? Not here. Please. We moved to a small private dining room that the restaurant manager opened for us. The 4 parents looked at me with growing concern as I closed the door behind us. The wedding is off, I said simply. There's not going to be a ceremony tomorrow. For a moment, no one spoke. Then everyone spoke at once. What? Olivia, what happened? Is this wedding jitters? Because that's completely normal. Where's Marcus? I held up my hand and they fell silent. Marcus has been having an emotional affair with Sarah for the past 6 months. I found out tonight. There will be no wedding. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's face went dark with rage. Helen looked like she might faint, and Thomas caught her elbow to steady her. That can't be right, Helen whispered. Marcus would never. He did, I said firmly. I saw the texts. I confronted both of them. It happened. It's real, and I'm not marrying him. Jesus Christ, my father breathed. Sarah? Your Sarah? Not my Sarah anymore. My mother was crying now, reaching for me, but I stepped back. If she hugged me, I'd completely fall apart, and I needed to hold it together just a little bit longer. We need to inform the guests, I said, my voice businesslike. We need to cancel tomorrow's ceremony. We need to… Honey, slow down, my father said gently. Let's take a breath. Maybe you should talk to Marcus first. Really talk. Before making any rash. Dad. I looked at him steadily. I've already talked to him. This isn't rash. This is self-preservation. Thomas cleared his throat. What do you need from us, Olivia? The kindness in his voice nearly undid me. Even after learning what his son had done, he was asking how to help me. I need you to tell Marcus to stay away from me tonight. I'll be going back to my apartment. Alone. I looked at my parents. I need you to inform the guests that there's been a change of plans. You don't have to give details. Just say the wedding is postponed due to personal circumstances. Postponed? My mother asked hopefully. Cancelled, I corrected gently. But if postponed is easier for tonight, use that word. And tomorrow? Helen asked, her voice breaking. The ceremony, the reception, the vendors. I'll handle the vendors on Monday, tomorrow. I took a shaky breath. Tomorrow, I just need to survive. I woke up on what should have been my wedding day to weak gray light filtering through my bedroom curtains and the sound of October rain pattering against the windows. For one blissful moment, I didn't remember. Then it all came crashing back, and I curled into a ball under my blankets, trying to breathe through the pain. My phone was buzzing on the nightstand. I'd turned it off around 2 a.m. after the flood of calls and texts became unbearable. When I finally forced myself to turn it back on, I saw over 100 notifications. Mom. Honey, please call me. We're so worried. Emma. I'm catching the first flight back. Don't do anything until I get there. Derek. Marcus's best man. I don't know what to say except I'm sorry. Marcus is devastated. He's asking if you'll talk to him. Various cousins and friends. What happened? Are you okay? Can we do anything? And dozens from Marcus. Marcus. Please answer your phone. Marcus. Liv, I need to talk to you. Marcus. I'm outside your apartment. Please let me in. Marcus. I love you. I'm so sorry. Please give me another chance. I deleted them all without responding. The only message I answered was my mother's. I'm alive, need time alone. Please respect that. At noon, there was a knock on my door. I ignored it until I heard Emma's voice. Liv, it's me. I know you're in there. Open up, or I'm using the spare key you gave me. I shuffled to the door in my pajamas, unlocking it. Emma took one look at me and pulled me into a fierce hug. Oh, honey. That was all it took. I broke down completely, sobbing into my sister's shoulder while she held me and stroked my hair and murmured soothing words that didn't really register. When I could finally breathe again, Emma steered me to the couch and went to make tea. She returned with 2 steaming mugs and a box of tissues. Okay, she said, settling next to me. Tell me everything. I did. I told her about finding the texts, about confronting Sarah and Marcus, about calling off the wedding in front of our parents. Emma listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker with each detail. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then, I never liked Sarah. Despite everything, I almost laughed. Yes, you did. No, I really didn't. There was always something off about her. Too invested in your relationship with Marcus. Too interested in the details. Emma shook her head. I should have said something. There was nothing to say. I trusted her completely. That's the worst part, Emma said quietly. The people we love have the most power to hurt us. We sat in silence, drinking our tea, rain streaming down the windows. Finally, Emma asked, What are you going to do? I don't know. Cancel everything. Move on somehow. Do you want to talk to him? To Marcus? What would be the point? Closure? Understanding? Making him grovel? Emma's attempt at lightness fell flat. I shook my head. Talking to him won't change what happened. It won't make me trust him again. It'll just give him an opportunity to try to convince me to forgive him, and I can't. I won't. Then what about the practical stuff? You two live together. That thought hadn't even occurred to me. Marcus and I had moved into a house together 6 months ago, a cute craftsman bungalow in the Selwood neighborhood that we'd both fallen in love with. Our names were both on the lease. Shit, I breathed. Yeah, Emma agreed. You're going to need to figure that out. Over the next few hours, with Emma's help, I started making a list of everything that needed to be handled. The house, joint bank accounts, shared subscriptions, the engagement ring, which I slipped off my finger and placed in a drawer, unable to look at it. At 3 p.m., when the ceremony should have been starting, I turned off my phone completely and let Emma put on a mindless comedy movie. We didn't talk about the fact that right now I should have been walking down the aisle. We didn't talk about the reception that wasn't happening, the first dance I'd practiced, the vows I'd written and memorized. We just sat together, and somehow that was enough. By evening, I felt strong enough to turn my phone back on. Among the new messages, one caught my attention. It was from Marcus's mother, Helen. Helen. Olivia, I know you probably don't want to hear from any of us right now, and I completely understand. But I need you to know that what Marcus did is inexcusable. Thomas and I raised him better than that. You deserved so much better. You still do. I'm heartbroken for you and so deeply sorry for my son's actions. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. You will always be family to us, regardless of what happened between you and Marcus. Fresh tears spilled down my cheeks as I read and reread the message. Even in the midst of my pain, Helen's kindness touched something deep inside me. Me. Thank you, Helen. That means more than you know. The doorbell rang. Emma went to answer it and came back with an enormous bouquet of flowers. White roses, my favorites. The card read, From the Hazes, with love and regret. His parents sent flowers to the woman their son cheated on, Emma observed. That's both classy and depressing. They're good people, I said softly. I'm going to miss them. You can still have a relationship with them, you know. Just because you and Marcus are over doesn't mean... It does, though. It has to. I touched one of the rose petals. A clean break is the only way to really heal. Over the next few days, a routine emerged. Emma stayed with me, fielding phone calls and helping me draft emails to vendors explaining the cancellation. Most were understanding, though a few were clearly annoyed about the late notice. I lost deposits totaling over $8,000, money I'd saved carefully over 2 years. Money well spent, I told myself, to avoid marrying the wrong person. My father came by on Monday to help me start the process of moving out of the house I'd shared with Marcus. He packed my belongings with quiet efficiency while I sat on the couch, unable to even enter the bedroom we'd shared. "Do you want to press charges?" Dad asked at one point. "For emotional distress or something?" "Dad, you can't sue someone for breaking your heart." "I can sure as hell try," he muttered, and I almost smiled. By Wednesday, exactly 1 week after the rehearsal dinner that changed everything, I'd moved into a furnished apartment in the Pearl District. It was smaller than the house, more expensive, and completely, blessedly mine. Emma had to fly back to Boston the next day. "Are you sure you'll be okay?" she asked for the 100th time. "No," I admitted, "but I will be eventually. And that's enough for now." After she left, I sat in my new living room, surrounded by moving boxes, and allowed myself to really feel everything I'd been holding back. The grief, the betrayal, the loss of not just Marcus, but the future we'd planned, the children we'd talked about having, the life we were supposed to build. I cried until I had no tears left. Then I ordered pizza, poured a glass of wine, and opened my laptop. If I was going to survive this, I needed to understand it. And maybe, just maybe, I needed to reclaim some control over my narrative. I created a new email account and started typing. Subject: the truth about Marcus Hayes. But as my fingers hovered over the keyboard, I stopped. Publishing a tell-all email about Marcus and Sarah might feel satisfying in the moment, but it would also keep me tethered to them. It would make me look bitter and vindictive, and more importantly, it would keep the wound fresh. I deleted the draft and closed the laptop. No, I wasn't going to let them take any more of my energy. I'd cried my tears, mourned my loss, and now it was time to focus on rebuilding. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Unknown. Liv, it's Sarah. Please don't delete this. I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but I need to tell you something important. There's more to the story than you know. Can we meet? Just for coffee? I promise I won't make excuses. You deserve the whole truth." I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to block the number immediately, but another part, the part that had spent countless nights wondering exactly how this had happened, what I'd missed, whether there were other secrets still hidden, that part was curious. What more could there possibly be? Against my better judgment, I typed a response. Me. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. The coffee shop on 23rd. You have 30 minutes. The coffee shop Sarah had suggested, that I had suggested, was crowded with the usual Wednesday afternoon mix of remote workers on laptops and students studying. I arrived 15 minutes early and claimed a corner table where I could see the entrance. When Sarah walked in at exactly 2 p.m., I was struck by how terrible she looked. Gone was the polished, confident woman I'd known for 8 years. This Sarah had dark circles under her eyes, unwashed hair pulled into a messy ponytail, and wore sweatpants and an oversized hoodie. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Good, the vindictive part of me thought. She should suffer. Sarah spotted me and approached hesitantly, like I might bolt at any second. "Thank you for meeting me," she said quietly, sliding into the chair across from me. "You have 30 minutes, I reminded her. "Start talking." She nodded, wrapping her hands around the coffee cup she'd brought with her. "I need to tell you about Jake." I frowned. "Who's Jake?" "My ex, the one I was with junior and senior year of college." Sarah's eyes were fixed on her coffee. "The one I told you I broke up with because we wanted different things." I remembered Jake vaguely, a tall guy with glasses who Sarah had dated seriously. They'd broken up right after graduation, and Sarah had been devastated. "What about him?" I lied about why we broke up. Sarah's voice was barely audible. "We didn't want different things. He cheated on me with my roommate for almost a year. I walked in on them the week of finals. I felt the first crack in my armor of anger. "Sarah, let me finish. Please." She took a shaky breath. "After that, I became obsessed with never being that person again. the one who got betrayed, the one who was too stupid and trusting to see what was right in front of her. I developed this pattern of sabotaging my own relationships before anyone could hurt me. I'd find flaws in every guy I dated, reasons why it wouldn't work, and I'd end things before they got too serious. She finally looked up at me, and I saw genuine pain in her eyes. And then you met Marcus. And he was perfect, kind, successful, thoughtful, funny. Everything I'd convinced myself didn't exist. And you were so happy with him. The way you looked at each other. It was everything I'd given up hoping for. So you decided to ruin it for me? The words came out harsh. No, God, no, that's not… Sarah pressed her palms against her eyes. I'm explaining this terribly. What I'm trying to say is that I fell for Marcus because he represented everything I thought I couldn't have. A good man who wouldn't hurt me. And I convinced myself that if I could just get him to choose me, it would prove I was worthy of that kind of love. That's incredibly selfish. I know it is. Tears were streaming down her face now. But Liv, there's more. Something I found out last week. Something that changes everything. I waited, my heart pounding. Marcus was never actually in love with me, Sarah said. He was using me. What? She pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot of a text conversation. It took me a moment to recognize the other participant. Derek, Marcus's best man. Marcus, I don't know what to do, man. The wedding's in 2 weeks, and I'm panicking. Derek, cold feet are normal. You love Liv, right? Marcus, of course I do. She's perfect. That's the problem. Derek, how is that a problem? Marcus, she's too perfect. Her career is taking off. She makes more money than me. Everyone loves her. What if she realizes she's too good for me? Derek, dude, that's insane. Liv is crazy about you. Marcus, now she is. But what about in 5 years when she's running her own company and I'm still stuck in middle management? I need insurance. Something to make sure she stays invested in us. In me. Derek, what are you talking about? Marcus, Sarah's always had a little crush on me. I can tell. I've been encouraging it. If Liv thinks I have other options, thinks other women want me, she won't take me for granted. I stared at the screen, my blood running cold. When was this? 3 months ago, Sarah whispered. I confronted Marcus about it last week, after everything blew up. He admitted that he'd been deliberately leading me on to make you jealous, to make himself seem more desirable. The texts we exchanged, the emotional intimacy, he was manufacturing all of it. My mind reeled. But you said you had feelings for him? Real feelings. I did. I do. That's what makes this so awful. Sarah was crying openly now. I developed genuine feelings based on what I thought was a real connection. But for Marcus, it was just strategy, manipulation. He was never confused about choosing between us. He was always going to choose you. He just wanted to make sure you'd fight for him. I felt sick. The betrayal I'd thought I understood was actually so much worse, so much more calculated. Did he tell you any of this? Before you sent that text at the rehearsal dinner? No, I was completely in the dark. I thought what we had was real, that he was genuinely torn. Sarah wiped her eyes. When you responded to my text as Marcus, I panicked. I went to his place the next day to figure out what to do, how to explain. That's when I saw texts between him and Derek. He'd left his phone on the counter when he went to shower. So you read them? Yes. And I felt, God, Liv, I felt like the biggest fool in the world. I'd destroyed our friendship, hurt you in the worst possible way, and it was all based on a lie. Sarah reached across the table, but didn't quite touch my hand. I'm not telling you this to make excuses. What I did was unforgivable regardless of Marcus's motivations. I should have come to you the second I started developing feelings. I should have valued our friendship more than my own damaged ego. I sat back, processing. Part of me wanted to find relief in this new information. It meant Marcus had never actually been in love with Sarah, had never truly emotionally cheated. But the truth was somehow worse. He'd deliberately manipulated both of us, played with our emotions, orchestrated a situation designed to keep me insecure and grateful. Did you confront him? I asked. After you found the texts? Yes. He denied it at first, then tried to justify it. Said he loved you so much that he was afraid of losing you. That making you think other women wanted him was the only way to ensure you'd always choose him too. Sarah's laugh was bitter. Like that somehow made it better. We sat in silence for a moment, the coffee shop noise fading into white noise around us. I'm still angry with you, I finally said. What you did, pursuing my fiancé, lying to me for months, that doesn't go away just because Marcus was manipulating you too. I know. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, even understanding why you did it. I know, Sarah repeated. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking you to have all the information, to know that Marcus isn't who either of us thought he was. I thought about the man I'd almost married, the one I'd trusted completely. I'd seen his insecurity before, little moments when he'd compare himself to my male colleagues or make comments about my success. But I'd always reassured him, told him how proud I was to be with him, how his worth wasn't determined by his job title or salary. Had any of that ever penetrated? Or had he always been planning contingencies, building backup plans, making sure he had leverage? What are you going to do? Sarah asked. About what? About Marcus. Are you going to tell people what he did? I considered this. The vindictive part of me wanted to expose him, to make sure everyone knew that the wedding didn't end because of simple infidelity, but because of calculated emotional manipulation. But what would that accomplish? It would just keep me trapped in this story, reliving it with every retelling. No, I decided. I'm going to let it go. Let him go. Both of you. Live. This doesn't fix what you did, Sarah. It doesn't give us our friendship back. But, I paused, searching for the right words. I guess I can at least understand how it happened. And maybe someday I won't hate you for it. That's more than I deserve. Yeah, I agreed. It is. We sat there for a few more minutes, two women who'd once been inseparable, now strangers separated by hurt too deep to bridge. Finally, Sarah stood. For what it's worth, she said quietly. You dodged a bullet. Marcus would have made you miserable. He would have spent your whole marriage making sure you felt insecure enough to stay. I know, I said. And I did. The pain of the betrayal was real, but so was the relief of not waking up married to someone who viewed love as a strategic game. Sarah left, and I sat alone with my cold coffee, watching the rain streak down the windows. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Mom, how are you holding up, honey? Me. Better than I was. Worse than I'll be. Mom. That's oddly profound for a Wednesday afternoon. Me. I'm full of surprises. Mom. Dinner this weekend? Your father wants to take you somewhere nice. Me. That sounds perfect. I paid for my untouched coffee and stepped out into the October rain. Portland was beautiful in the fall, even in the rain, especially in the rain. The smell of wet pavement, the colorful leaves plastered to the sidewalk, the gray sky that somehow felt cozy rather than depressing. I had survived what should have been my wedding day. I had survived learning that my fiancé had manipulated me and my best friend. I had survived the collapse of the future I'd imagined. And I was still here, still standing, still capable of finding beauty in a rainy afternoon. That felt like victory enough for now. 3 months later, mid-January, I stood in my office on the 23rd floor of a downtown Portland high-rise, looking out at the city blanketed in fresh snow. It was rare for Portland to get snow this heavy, and the entire city had slowed to a peaceful hush. The promotion I'd been offered the week after my canceled wedding had seemed like terrible timing at first. Project Director for Strategic Initiatives, a position that would require more hours, more responsibility, more everything at a time when I could barely get out of bed in the morning. But my boss, Patricia, no relation to my mother, had sat me down and said something that stuck with me. Sometimes the best way through grief is purpose. She'd been right. Throwing myself into work had given me something to focus on besides the wreckage of my personal life. And somewhere along the way, the act of pretending to be okay had gradually become actually being okay. Not healed, not over it, but okay. My new office had a door I could close and windows that actually opened. I'd decorated with minimalist art and a few plants that Emma had sent as a new beginning gift. The space felt like mine in a way the house I'd shared with Marcus never had. "Olivia, you have a visitor?" My assistant, Jordan, appeared in the doorway looking slightly flustered. "She says it's personal. Should I tell her you're busy?" Before I could respond, a familiar figure appeared behind Jordan. My heart sank. "It's okay, Jordan. Thank you." I gestured for my visitor to enter, and Jordan retreated, closing the door behind them. Helen Hayes stood in my office, looking elegant in a wool coat and cashmere scarf, snowflakes melting in her silver hair. We hadn't spoken since I'd thanked her for the flowers 3 months ago. "I'm sorry to show up unannounced," Helen said. "I called, but I haven't been answering calls from numbers I don't recognize," I admitted. "Understandable." Helen glanced at the chair across from my desk. "May I?" "Of course." She sat, removing her gloves carefully. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, Helen said, "I wanted you to hear this from me directly. Marcus and I had a very difficult conversation over the holidays." My stomach tightened. "You don't owe me." "He's moving to Denver," Helen interrupted. "Thomas's brother offered him a job there. He's leaving next month." I absorbed this information. Marcus, leaving Portland. The city would suddenly become safer, easier to navigate without the constant fear of running into him at a coffee shop or restaurant. "How do you feel about that?" Helen asked gently. "Relieved," I admitted. Then, "How do you feel?" "Disappointed, angry, heartbroken." Helen's voice wavered slightly. "Not at losing him to Denver, at what he did, what he became. Thomas and I spent weeks trying to understand how we raised a son who would treat someone the way he treated you." "He's not all bad," I found myself saying. "He has good qualities too. That's what made it so hard. If he'd been terrible all along, walking away would have been easy." "That's generous of you." Helen smiled sadly. "More generous than he deserves." Derek told us about the texts, about Marcus's strategy. So Derek had finally broken ranks. I wondered if he and Marcus were still friends. "I wanted to make sure you knew the truth," Helen continued, "that our son's actions don't reflect our values or how we feel about you. You are, a remarkable young woman, and any man would be lucky to have you in his life." Tears pricked my eyes. "Thank you. I also wanted to give you this." Helen reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "It's from Marcus. He asked me to deliver it. You don't have to read it if you don't want to. You don't owe him anything." I took the envelope, feeling its weight in my hands. My name was written on the front in Marcus's familiar handwriting. After Helen left, with a hug and a promise to stay in touch that we both knew we wouldn't keep, I sat at my desk, holding the envelope. Finally, I opened it. "Dear Olivia, I know I don't have the right to ask anything of you, including your time to read this, but I need to try. What I did to you was unforgivable. Not just the betrayal with Sarah, but the manipulation behind it. The deliberate cultivation of her feelings to make you feel insecure. The strategy of it all. Derek was right to tell my parents. I deserve for everyone to know the truth. I've spent the last 3 months in therapy, trying to understand why I did it. My therapist says it stems from deep insecurity, fear of abandonment, and a need for control. Knowing the why doesn't excuse the how, but it's helped me see patterns I need to break. You were everything I never thought I deserved. Your confidence, your success, your kindness, all of it made me feel inadequate. Instead of working on myself or being honest about my insecurities, I tried to level the playing field by making you doubt your worth. That's inexcusable. I'm not writing this to ask for forgiveness or another chance. I'm writing because you deserve to know that none of this was about you being lacking in any way. You were perfect. I was the one who was broken. I'm moving to Denver to start over. Away from the life we planned, away from the reminders of what I destroyed. I hope distance will help both of us heal. I'll always love you, Olivia. But more importantly, I'll always regret that my love was so damaged and selfish that it hurt you. You deserved better. You deserve better. I hope you find it. Marcus." I read the letter twice, then folded it carefully and placed it in my desk drawer. It didn't change anything, didn't erase the hurt or make the betrayal sting less. But there was something in seeing him take full accountability, something that helped close a door that had been slightly ajar. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Emma, how's the snow situation there? Me. Beautiful. Peaceful. The whole city is shut down. Emma. Perfect day for staying in. You eating actual food or just surviving on coffee? Me. I had a salad for lunch, thank you very much. Emma. That's not real food and you know it. Order something warm. Take care of yourself. Me. Yes, Mom. Emma. How dare you? I'm the cool aunt who lets you stay up late and eat ice cream for dinner. Me. You don't have any nieces or nephews yet. Emma. Practicing for when you have kids. The casual mention of future children made my chest tighten for a moment. 3 months ago, I'd imagined those children having Marcus's eyes. Now, I couldn't imagine children at all. That future felt impossibly far away. But maybe that was okay. Maybe I didn't need to know what the future held right now. I gathered my things and headed home early, joining the mass exodus of workers released by the snow day. My apartment in the Pearl District was cozy when I arrived, and I immediately changed into sweatpants and my favorite oversized cardigan. I ordered Thai food, pad see ew with extra vegetables, and settled on my couch with a book I'd been meaning to read. Outside, the snow continued to fall, transforming Portland into a winter wonderland. My phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Is this Olivia Bennett? Speaking. Hi, Ms. Bennett. This is Jennifer Chen from Peak Performance Coaching. We met briefly at the Business Leaders Summit last month. I vaguely remembered the encounter. A woman my age with an impressive resume who ran executive coaching sessions. Yes, I remember. How can I help you? Actually, I'm hoping I can help you. I'm developing a workshop series for women in leadership positions, focusing on building resilience and navigating personal challenges while advancing professionally. Your name kept coming up in my research as someone who exemplifies those qualities. I almost laughed. If she only knew how unprofessionally I'd been handling my personal challenges. I appreciate the thought, but I'm not sure I'm the right person. I heard about your wedding being called off, Jennifer interrupted gently. And I heard that the following week, you accepted a major promotion and have since led your team through a successful quarter despite everything you were going through personally. That's exactly the kind of resilience I want to highlight. I was quiet for a moment. Who told you about the wedding? Patricia, your boss. We're friends. She speaks very highly of you. Of course Patricia had mentioned it, but instead of feeling exposed, I felt seen. Someone had noticed that I was surviving, even thriving despite the chaos. What would this workshop involve? I asked cautiously. Over the next 30 minutes, Jennifer outlined her vision. A 6-week series where successful women would share their experiences navigating professional success alongside personal challenges. Not as cautionary tales, but as evidence that you could have a career collapse and still move forward. I don't want to exploit your pain, Jennifer said carefully, but I think your story could help other women who are going through similar situations. Help them see that surviving heartbreak doesn't mean putting your career on hold. Can I think about it? Absolutely. Take all the time you need. My email is on the card I gave you. If you decide you're interested, reach out. If not, no hard feelings. After we hung up, I sat with the offer. 3 months ago, the thought of publicly discussing my failed wedding would have been unbearable. But now I could see the value in transforming my pain into purpose. Maybe helping others navigate similar waters would be another step toward healing. The snow continued to fall as I ate my Thai food and finished my book. When I finally climbed into bed, I didn't cry. The first time in weeks that I'd gone to sleep without tears. Progress, I thought. Small, incremental progress. 6 months later, July. The conference room at the Hilton downtown was packed with women, over 100 of them, ranging from their 20s to their 60s. I stood at the front, a wireless mic clipped to my collar, a presentation remote in my hand. So there I was, I said, standing at my rehearsal dinner, champagne in hand, looking at a text that would change everything. It was supposed to be me. 5 words that unraveled 4 years of my life. The room was silent. Every face turned toward me with rapt attention. I could have made a scene, could have thrown the champagne, confronted them publicly, let everyone see my pain and rage. I paused. Instead, I replied with 2 words, right on time. And you know what? In that moment, I took my power back. I advanced the slide, showing a graph of my team's performance over the past 9 months. This is what happened after my world imploded. We exceeded our quarterly targets. We launched 2 successful initiatives. We built something meaningful. Another slide. Did I cry? Absolutely. Did I spend nights questioning everything about myself? You bet. Did I eat ice cream for dinner more times than I can count? Guilty. Gentle laughter rippled through the room. But I also showed up. I did the work. I proved to myself that heartbreak doesn't get to define my worth or limit my success. I'd been giving this workshop for 3 months now, and each time felt a little easier. Jennifer had been right. Sharing my story was healing. Watching other women nod in recognition, seeing them take notes on resilience strategies, knowing that my pain might help them navigate their own, it gave meaning to what had happened. After the session ended, a young woman approached me hesitantly. Ms. Bennett, thank you for sharing your story. I'm going through something similar right now. Found out my partner was seeing someone else. I've been so ashamed, like it was my fault somehow. It's not, I said firmly. Their choices are about them, not you. I know that logically, but emotionally. She trailed off. Give it time, I said gently. And be patient with yourself. Healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong, others you'll feel broken. Both are okay. She left, looking slightly less burdened, and I felt that familiar sense of purpose settle over me. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Emma. How'd it go? Me. Really well. Full house, great questions. Emma. Proud of you, sis. Dinner tonight to celebrate? Me. Can't. Have plans. Emma. Plans? With who? Me. Just a friend. Calm down. Emma. Is this friend male? Female? Non-binary? Give me details. Me. You're insufferable. Emma. You love me. Have fun on your plans with your friend. I rolled my eyes but couldn't help smiling. Emma had been not so subtly encouraging me to start dating again, but I wasn't quite there yet. Tonight's plans were actually with Jennifer. We'd become friends over the past few months, bonding over our shared love of horrible reality TV and good wine. As I packed up my materials, Patricia appeared in the doorway. Olivia? Got a minute? We stepped into the hallway. Patricia looked unusually serious. I wanted to give you a heads up. The board approved the new Vice President of Strategic Development position. They want to offer it to you. My heart skipped. VP? You've more than earned it. The work you've done this year has been exceptional. But it's a big role. Bigger team, bigger budget, bigger visibility. She paused. Also requires relocation to our Seattle office. Seattle, a new city, a fresh start, a chance to build a life completely separate from the ghosts of Portland. When do they need an answer? End of the month. I know it's a big decision. After Patricia left, I walked to the window and looked out at downtown Portland. This city had been my home for 6 years. It held my favorite coffee shops, my running routes along the river, memories both beautiful and painful. But maybe it was time for a new chapter, one where I wasn't the woman whose wedding got called off, but the woman who built something remarkable from the ashes. My phone rang. Unknown number again, but this time I answered immediately. Olivia Bennett. Ms. Bennett, this is Officer Rodriguez with Portland PD. I'm calling about a case involving Marcus Hayes and Sarah Patterson. We need to ask you a few questions. My blood ran cold. What kind of case? Fraud, ma'am. It appears they've been running a scam targeting engaged couples. Wait, what? Together? Yes, ma'am. Working as a team. We have evidence of at least 15 other couples they've targeted over the past 3 years. The pattern is always the same. Befriend the couple. Create emotional entanglements. Cause the relationship to implode. Then, I sank into a chair, the officer's words washing over me. It hadn't been about me at all. It had never been about me. Marcus and Sarah had been con artists, and I'd been their mark. But as the shock faded, something unexpected rose in its place. Relief. Because if it was all a lie from the beginning, then I hadn't failed. I hadn't missed warning signs or made poor choices. I'd simply been targeted by people who were very good at what they did. "Ms. Bennett? Are you still there?" "Yes," I said. "I'm here. What do you need from me?" 1 year later, I stood on the balcony of my apartment in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise paint Elliott Bay in shades of pink and gold. The city was waking up around me, ferries crossing the Sound, seagulls crying overhead, the distant rumble of early morning traffic. My phone buzzed with a message from Emma. "Emma, 1 year ago today, how are you feeling?" I smiled because I knew exactly what she meant. 1 year ago, Marcus and Sarah had been arrested. 1 year ago, I'd testified about what they'd done to me. 1 year ago, I'd learned that my broken engagement had been part of a larger pattern of manipulation and fraud. Me. Feeling grateful, actually. Emma. That's my girl. Still coming for Thanksgiving? Me. Wouldn't miss it. Mom promised her famous stuffing. Emma. She promised my famous stuffing. I've perfected the recipe. Me. We'll see about that. I went inside to get ready for work. The VP role had been everything Patricia promised. Challenging, rewarding, occasionally overwhelming. I'd built a team of talented people, launched initiatives I was proud of, and proven to myself that I was capable of so much more than I'd believed possible. Dating had happened gradually, carefully. A few coffee dates that went nowhere. One brief relationship that ended amicably when we both realized we were better as friends. I wasn't in a rush. For the first time in my adult life, I was genuinely happy being single, focused on building a life I loved, rather than searching for someone to complete it. As I drove to the office, I thought about that night at the rehearsal dinner. The moment I saw Sarah's text and felt my world crack apart. The decision to respond right on time instead of falling apart publicly. I'd thought those words meant I was catching them in the act, exposing their betrayal. But looking back, I realized they'd meant something different entirely. Right on time to dodge a bullet. Right on time to discover the truth. Right on time to start building the life I actually wanted, rather than the one I thought I should want. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the best thing. You just can't see it yet. My phone rang as I pulled into the parking garage. "Jennifer." "Hey," I answered. "What's up? Have you seen the news? They're sentencing today?" Marcus and Sarah. I had known this was coming, but had deliberately avoided tracking the details. And 5 years, each, for wire fraud, identity theft, and a bunch of other charges I don't fully understand. 5 years. I tried to feel something. Satisfaction, vindication, schadenfreude. But all I felt was distant sadness for two people who'd wasted their lives hurting others. "Thanks for letting me know," I said. "How are you doing with all this?" "Honestly, I'm okay. Better than okay." I grabbed my bag and headed toward the elevator. They're getting what they deserve, and I'm building something real. That feels like justice enough. After we hung up, I rode the elevator to the 28th floor, where my team was already gathering in the conference room for our morning meeting. Good people doing good work, building something meaningful. This was my life now. Not the fairy tale I'd imagined standing in that rehearsal dinner, but something better. Authentic, hard-won, entirely mine. As I walked into the conference room and caught sight of the Seattle skyline through the windows, I thought again about those 2 words I'd sent Sarah a year ago. Right on time. For the ending I needed, and the beginning I deserved.